I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, I'm all you need. In the off-white Rari, baby, we run the streets. I'm a K-I-N-G, Westside royalty. I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, that's all you need. I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, I'm all you need.
Welcome back, everybody. You're with Steven Basita on my podcast, Get It. And today I have the blessing of having a co-worker of my wife and a dear friend of hers, Lisa Locker, who has agreed to join me today on this podcast. And we've been walking through a series through my podcast of women empowerment, women who are doing big things, women that are just bosses in their own right. And Lisa, by all stretches, has met all those things. She owns several different fitness studios within the Cycle Bar franchise, and she's had quite the story. And so today we're going to start unpacking some of that and go through some questions. So first off, thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
So also, we're on the Social Nostra Network. If you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe, like, comment. Let us know any feedback you have. And if you're seeing this on Instagram, make sure you follow us. We love having that engagement from all of you. We appreciate it. And we've been able to go through some of the questions you guys have been asking, which has been fun for us too. So keep the comments coming. And here we go for the day. So to start off,
yes.
So let's just get a quick walkthrough of your journey. What did you do in college? What were your passions? And then what has kind of transpired through your time to being where you're at now and doing all things you're doing? And then we'll also get into like how COVID's affected your business and some of that other stuff that's going to be, very relevant right now. And especially as we're seeing a lot of states are actually going back to phase one right now. So we're getting towards the end of the year. We just hit November, and where we saw progress moving forward with phases going into the 3 and the 4s in most states, if not all states. Now, Washington State and Oregon have both gone back to phase 1. Colorado has dropped to phase 2, I believe.
I think it's phase 2 or 3, but it's just safer at home and a lot of restrictions.
Gone back.
It's gone back.
And California's walking it back right now.
Back
New York,
Chicago.
all these states. And a lot of states are going back to mandating stay-at-home orders, mask orders, things that were being
we have
eased
all
up
that
on.
here.
Yes.
All of it here.
So
that's been an interesting
yes, it has been. It's been quite
interesting change to 2020 and how we do business today. So
100%.
Okay, well, let's see my journey. So gosh, college seems so long ago for me. Went to Ohio State. I'm a Buckeye, so OHIO, if you were a Buckeye fan. I majored in marketing and business, and really, I have to tell you, like I said, it was a very long time ago. I would say my focus was very much on being social, very much having a good time. Academics were obviously part of it, but I think that's what you get when you go to college. It's learning to be on your own, learning to be independent, finding out who you are. And I think that journey continues with you really for your entire life.
I think so.
I would say I'm in my 50s, and the learnings still happen. They're just not as fast and furious, I would say, and definitely more grounded in who I am as a person. So I would say I've always had a very independent, strong personality, very outgoing personality, wanted to get into business. And so it started my journey, really in the business world. And I've always been endeared to business. My father is a businessman, so I would say he was my role model and mentor. And out of 3 kids in my family, I'm the only one that, got into business. So for me, I love marketing and sales. I was always told I had the gift to gab. I love to be around people. And so I would tell you, bulk of my career was spent with a company called Philip Morris, now known as Altria, which of course is big tobacco. People always say, are you on the food side of Philip Morris? Are you, what side are you on? I'm on tobacco. So obviously not a popular topic. I wasn't like the guest speaker for all the kids, bring your parent and talk about workday.
Yeah.
So yes, I was with Philip Morris for almost 2 decades. And I can tell you that company, while I will say I worked my tush off, and it was very much a glass ceiling at that time in the 90s, It was just mostly all men. So talk about being female and having to break barriers and make your way through the corporate ladder.
Right.
While it was a challenge, it was a good challenge for me. I like challenges like that.
So let me pause you
Yeah,
quickly.
sure.
So going into, because you're still in somewhat of a male dominated industry,
Yes.
which is fitness. And so going through the tobacco stuff and having that glass ceiling. So let me ask you, when you started, where was that glass ceiling? When you ended, where was that glass ceiling for you?
When I started, it was the glass ceiling.
Okay.
You know, just I hate to say, but all white males, you know, that from our executives down, zero women in higher level roles, no SVPs, no VPs, very little directors. It was big news when there was a director in Philip Morris that was female. When I left there, which was in 2014, it was really like the starting of like a lot of different conversations, diversity, year of the women, which I still say it's still happening, and transitioning into, you know, having women in power. And I'm still very close to a lot of people there, and the leadership board and really who you see at the top has drastically changed. So, you know, I have so much just high regard for Philip Morris. It was a tough environment. You know, it converted over to Altria years ago, but I learned a ton there. I would tell you my book of learnings and who I am as a person. You spend so much time at work, it really becomes your family. It becomes who you are, and you know, you set your own values and you match those up with the people that you work with and who you surround yourself with.
Right.
So it really did change over time. And I will say that's one thing about Philip Morris that taught me to learn to pivot and change. If you stay stagnant, you lose, you know,
you're 100%.
You're irrelevant.
100%.
So, so that was, I really have nothing but wonderful things to say. You know, I met great business partners and friendships and family. I am still connected with them today. I would say I harken back on so much of what I learned there that carried me forward into my next phase. So, you know, I would say I closed the book on that. I, you know, retired out of tobacco, if you would. And I just took some time out for myself. We have 4 kids, my husband and I, and he's an entrepreneur as well. And so I think we both have that camaraderie and that spirit of independence and just both drivers in our own different ways. And so we had 4 kids that were going through college. And when I left Philip Morris, it was when our last one was going off to college. And now I'm happy to say, you know, 2020, all of our kids have graduated and they're all working and they're off the payroll, which is terrific. You know, they have their own benefits. I mean, it's just like, it's the things that you win, you know, in life, you're so happy about when you see your kids doing well. So that, you know, I left there. I did get my real estate license, which I've always had an interest in real estate, and I dabbled in that a little bit. And then it brought me to cannabis. So I went from tobacco to cannabis. And I was really approached by several people. Some of them were old executives of Philip Morris. And I had been putting out my feelers more around investing, because cannabis at the time was just up and growing in Colorado, and it was really spreading nationally. Right. Where legalized cannabis outside of med was being approved, and Colorado was one of the states that it started in.
Colorado and Washington.
Colorado, Washington, Oregon. So now many states have jumped on board. So I paired up with some folks from Philip Morris that had started a cannabis group, and they were really looking to raise up the level and just really the image. Because it has a very, I'd say, negative connotation.
Like anything that involves substances,
yes. And just the marketing side of things and where you sell it and where you buy it, it was very foreign. So I found that to be just so intriguing and very interesting. And so I actually started my own cannabis consulting group, going in and just stepping in as like vice president of marketing and sales, and creating from ground up the infrastructure, the sales team, you know, what does it look like to go to market, all the presentations. How do you get into these dispensaries? Because there's several hundred of them. Right. And then how do you take that infrastructure and move it across different states? So it was really, it was very easy for me to do that because of Philip Morris. I took a lot of what I learned and just reapplied it, but without having the HR and
Right.
legal guidelines behind me. It was like, wait, no one's watching my back. So I did that, and it was going terrifically well. And that one company turned into another consulting company, turned into another one. So I had 4 groups that I was consulting for, and my plate was very full. And in that interim, around 2016, I had gone to a discovery day for Cycle Bar.
Okay.
And originally, when we looked at Cycle Bar, it was in Cincinnati with a different group. And, just deciding, what am I going to do? Now that I'm outside of Philip Morris and my cannabis group, so taking it back a little bit, I said, I really love to cycle. I love indoor cycling. I was going to different, big corporate names like Soul Cycle and Flywheel when I traveled, because I travel a lot. And we just really didn't have anything like that in Denver in 2016. The boutique fitness was just non-existent here, to be honest with you.
Okay.
And so my husband's like, well, then go for it. Look for something, find something. And when I researched, I found Cycle Bar. And at the time in 2016, there was a Cycle Bar in Greenwood Village, Cycle Bar DTC, and it's one of the OG studios that was open. I think it was one of the first 5. And so I spoke to the owner of that studio. We flew to Cincinnati in fourth quarter to just discuss and talk to them about joining. What does it look like? And when we left the discovery days, we went in saying we wanted to do a territory. We walked out with 4, just go big or go home.
Yeah.
And it was really the downtown area, because we were moving downtown since our kids all graduated. We were selling our house in the burbs, moving downtown. And it sounds so cliche, you're empty nesters. So we decided to look at the territory, and my husband was terrific at, doing that. He's great at looking at leases and different spaces. And I knew I wanted to be downtown, because downtown was growing at a very rapid pace. Businesses were moving in, the development was huge. And so we ended up buying the 4 territories, prime territories in Denver. And that's where we left. And so we left it with the 4 territories, and we came back to Denver saying, oh my gosh, we're going to be like Cycle Bar heavy over the next year. So the goal was to open up our first Cycle Bar in 2017. So there were some challenges with that. And so that was like knockdown number 1.
So what were some of those challenges that you guys had to go through?
It was really around finding the right space and the right lease.
Okay.
For anyone that's in boutique fitness, we're not a draw for a center, whether it's a shopping center or at the bottom of a housing development. So you have to find someone that will take you in almost as a loft leader and bring you in and say, okay, we definitely want fitness here, but we also have retail space and we have restaurant space.
Right.
And downtown was very challenging. Where we ended up being downtown, it was dirt when we were looking, but all the projects had started and we knew what was coming.
Okay.
And so vision wise, and I really commend my husband for that, he had the vision that it's going to blow up down here and we want to be part of it. So we had our sights set on one spot specifically, and we over a year negotiating a lease, trying to find the right dollar amount, trying to find the right location, popping from location to location. So it deflated you a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you have to take a pause. It's like, how many no's do you get before you find the right spot?
Well, I think that that's something that's really important for people, especially those that are watching this that are trying to get into the fitness space, although I wouldn't recommend it right now. But, also having been a gym owner and then, growing it. Right. So I owned a gym, for everybody that hasn't listened yet, and we grew it. And so we had our main campus, which was 7,000 square feet in Irvine, and really like industrial area. Mm-hmm. And so, having to, for you had a marketing and advertising background. Right. And I tell everybody that wants to get into any sort of business ownership, you need to understand advertising and marketing. 100%. And to take a sidestep really quickly into that world, you can have the best product in the world, the best product. And if you don't market and advertise it correctly, you're going to go out of business. Yes. You can have the worst product in the world. I say this all the time, AKA the shake weight. And you can make over $100 million in profit because of marketing and advertising. So
Yes.
dumb, but it's so
But so
important.
true.
And so I tracked my expenses. I'm very, very financially grounded.
Yes.
I spent in 5 years $140,000 in marketing and advertising with companies that would call and sell me this whole thing. I didn't get one client from any of these companies. So finally, I just got tired. I canceled all my contracts with every company.
Right.
I canceled every service, everything. I invested in myself, and I went and learned from a marketing guru. And I spent a week with him, going to his classes, going to his seminars, watching what they do.
Right.
And then I paid to be part of this group he had. And I then started calling companies and interviewing them.
Yeah.
I found one company, and we grew my gym business about $150 in profit for that 6-month gap that we had them. And then I found another company and invested in them. And then we were able to continue to grow even more. And so having gotten that base of marketing and advertising and just understanding it gave me the ability to now find people and companies that I could actually hold accountable and say, look, this is our standard. This is what we expect. We know this is possible. And I actually did a few things myself just to prove it first.
Right.
Because I'm not going to, you're a marketing company like, oh, I expect 10 new clients every week, or we're not going to, I'm taking your contract and tearing it up if I can't do that first. So we ran 2 campaigns that I actually put together. The first campaign, we got 25 new clients in a week. We got 10 clients in a day.
That's terrific.
Right.
Just knowing leads and how they drip in.
And then I did another one, and then we got a couple huge contracts. And so I was growing my business myself while then doing all the other little things. And so then going back to, then having to look, okay, where we're going to put our next location, where we're going to put our next location, finding that, negotiating the deal. So important that people understand how long that can take, which I'm glad you're speaking to that, because it took us a long time too. And you do want to have the right location. You want to have the right price point, because if you have a bad location and a horrible price, you're going to go out of business. You won't make it a year. And the other thing I want to speak to on behalf of you. So gym businesses in general, the average gym business, 86% fail within year 1.
Oh, gosh.
So,
well, that's good. Yeah, we passed that.
we did too until COVID hit.
Yeah, until COVID, right.
Of the 14% that survive year 1, so take that 14%.
Right.
90% of those don't make it to year 3.
Okay.
Of that 10% that makes it to year 3, only 3% of that makes it to year 5.
Wow.
So we had our location open till we were in there 7 years, and then COVID hit. And it is what it is now. But yeah, it's like you have less than a 1% chance of making it 10 years, because the people that do either sell, close because they're burned out, isn't only part of it anymore.
Right.
And because you are competing against the LA Fitnesses, the 24-hour Fitnesses, the Crunches, all these different things, which, I mean, we're seeing those gyms
close,
just get eradicated
right now. Yeah.
And I was telling one of my buddies, so I'd like to try and stay fit myself, but I went through like a year of about 18 months where I wasn't able to work out much. And so then we've been here in Denver, and I was like, dude, I just got to get into a gym.
Yes.
And when I just Googled like gyms near me, there were four 24-hour fitnesses within about a 1.5 to 2 mile gap.
Right. And they're probably all gone now.
Only one of them survived.
Yeah.
So I go to the one that survived, and it's just crazy because, like, I've been to 24-hour fitness over the years, go play basketball, that kind of stuff. Yeah. I have never in my whole life seen any major gym, especially 24-hour fitness, just completely empty. And during hours, during any hours. And I get up early. I'm an early riser.
So peak hours, you're saying that would have been.
But even peak hours, And there's days like.
Is it because of the restrictions of how many people can go in there? That's interesting to hear.
I would have thought that.
Right.
Because for the 24-hour fitnesses, there's 50 people allowed. Right. Because they're huge. They're massive.
Right, they're massive.
There's 50 people allowed.
And there's not 50 in there.
At a time. Right. And they have a person there ever. So they have somebody there at the front that kind of keeps track of people and flow.
Yeah.
I've gone 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning. I've gone 10 in the morning. And then I've also gone a couple of times in the afternoon during the peak hours.
Yeah.
I've never seen more than 15 people in there
Wow.
ever at one time. Now they can take 50. I've never seen more than 15.
Yeah.
And so, we moved to the area. We know no one for the most part. We have like 4 people.
You know us.
One of the 4. And so, for me, I still own businesses. I'm still doing things. And so like establishing a network is really good. My whole network is like in Southern California or up in the Seattle area.
Yeah.
So move here. And of course, like a few of the things that I would do to get plugged in. You can't go to church. There's no churches here. We go to church, but we don't now.
Nope.
No church you can go
online.
to online, right? Which you can't meet anybody.
No.
The gym, not only is it that there's so few people, but like everybody has their headphones, their masks, and are staying away.
Yes.
And because of my wife being as far along as she is in the pregnancy issue we've had, I'm not going to risk it.
No.
So I don't engage with anyone at the gym.
Right.
Nobody wants to engage anyways. There's no places to go to meet people. There's nothing to do to meet people. Nobody wants to be near each other.
Right.
And even in our daughter's school, like we've met a couple of her classmates' parents.
Right.
But it's the same deal. It's just like they have to be isolated for something. We have to be isolated for something right now. It's just like everybody, it's crazy.
It's
crazy. Just to try and meet human beings and create some sense of community is just not happening.
No.
So I've accepted that this year is just going to be,
a year of like meditation and learning.
Yeah, just a lot of reading.
Right.
I don't play
video
podcast, dude. Really, and the funny thing is, I don't play video games ever.
Right.
So
Tara started that.
I did. So Tara bought me this PS4 for Christmas when we first got married.
Right. Oh, so like long ago.
6-7 years ago.
Okay, you dusted it off.
I did. Well, so we use it. What we do is we use it for DVDs.
Right.
It's our DVD player in our room, right? And then we have a DVD player downstairs. Yeah. So so stupid. So when COVID first hit, we got rid of our actual gym business, but we retained our training business.
Right.
But we downsized from 10 employees to 1, and we're renting space from a location that's easy to manage. The basketball club, I had to shut down all my chapters, although now a couple are going, but they're like 10, 20% of what they used to be. The tournament business took a hit.
Totally changed.
Had to cut my consulting business with the person I was doing it with. Now me and Tara obviously have our own consulting business together, which we're just getting that up and running. But like,
just terrific.
All these different things that happen.
Yep.
So my life, I was working 7 days a week, almost every week, and I was working 16. Like on a short day for me, a short day was 14 hours. All of a sudden, I have all this time, and I do read. I don't have any books in here right now, but they're all in my room, so I'm reading them all. But like, so I've been really focused on like I read podcasts. Yeah, I do other things, but there is a lot of downtime. And when my daughter's at school, I do what I can to help Tara, but then I do have some downtime. So back to the video games. So I don't play video games ever. And I have,
you are now.
I can probably count the amount of video games I have.
Right.
In the 7 years I've had that PlayStation 4, I think I'm like 4 maybe 5.
Have you played them all and mastered them all?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
I haven't played them all.
Oh, okay.
But I'm a huge Marvel fan, so this Marvel Avengers game just came out, so I bought that, and I've been playing that, and it's truly epic. But that's been a good time waster. So the cool thing is, it's not to get off topic here, but you can pick like things that take like 10 minutes or an hour. So I just, whatever time I have allotted, I kind of go with. But it's been crazy.
It's been a crazy year,
so,
for sure.
Going back to then, so you bought 4 territories.
Yes.
You've got the first gym that you're negotiating with, which is so critically important. And all of your locations are still up and running. Well, you still have them all.
So we bought 4 territories, but because of that lag time of trying to find the perfect lease, I'll tell you, if you're looking for a spot, I think you hit it right on the head. It's not easy. It's a challenge. You have to find the right spot. You're so excited that you want to get in. So someone comes to you, I have this deal for you. Let's do it. Where my husband's like, no, we're not going to do that. We focused on this area. That's what we're going to wait for. And that was actually the best thing. It was also very challenging. So all the while my cannabis business was taking off, my luster for Cycle Bar was getting just crushed time and time again over the last year. I thought I'd have my first spot open in 2017.
Well, and so also your husband owns a business that is national.
Yes.
And so he's busy.
He's busy, and he travels he used to pre-COVID travel every week. So you know what? I decided, okay,
which is cool because he takes the time to help you.
Oh, absolutely.
With this, which is really cool, and as partners should help each other.
He's my partner financially, He looks at the numbers. He negotiates our leases. I'm the yes person. He's like, well, maybe not. Maybe we need to sit back on that. So it's that part of it has been wonderful. Getting into fitness has been wonderful. And just, I think the time that it took to find Union Station,
which was how
tough.
long from start to finish?
We bought the territory in end of 2016. I thought I'd be up and running at the end of 2017. We were up and running, in August of 2019. So
that was your first location
that we built. Yes.
So 2019 of August is your first location.
A little over a year ago. So
wow.
Patience. Okay. But in the interim, we ended up purchasing 2 existing locations.
Okay.
So DTC, which I mentioned to you, was
Yes.
one of the original locations. So when we went to Discovery Days, the owner called me and said, I'd love to chat with you about a business opportunity. So this is early on in 2017. So I said, okay, let's meet. So I thought he was going to maybe talk to me about going in halvesies for another location, because his territory really butted up against our closest one in downtown.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he had a very desirable area called the Highlands in Lodi, which was on the other side of the freeway of downtown, but it's a very up and growing area. A lot of folks commute in. It's right across the bridge. And so that was his area, which butted up against ours. There was a freeway just separating us. And so I thought that's what he wanted to chat with me about. He actually wanted to talk to me about buying his location. So he had DTC. He was opening up in June or July of 2017, the Lodi location. And so it was under construction. So we met there, and it was really fun to see it, before it went live. And he said, I want to sell both of the locations. So of course, at the time, I'm 6 months into my search. I'm like, I don't think we want to do that. We have Union Station going. We have 3 other territories to build out. So we took a pause and said, that's probably not going to be in the best interest for us, and it was like, I have the best manager in the country. We have, we're one of the original studios. He bought it, but, ended up selling his own personal business that he had before, which I think was in something to do with mortgages.
Okay.
And then I guess a larger company came in at some point in 2017, a year and a half after he had been open, and as he was building Lodi, and said to his partner and him, I'm willing to buy you out. And it was a pretty big buyout.
That's good.
But if we do that, we need you to be the interim, I think, director or VP and travel and do your thing. So having Cycle Bar, he wouldn't be able to do that, because he was pretty much full-time there. So that's the reason for selling. And so, by fall, end of summer, we started negotiating with him. The challenging part is just the financial side of it, because it always isn't as what it appears to be. And then when you start digging into the books, and that's, again, my husband and, our accountant, and just saying, I'm not sure this is the best opportunity for you.
Right.
Long and short of it, we ended up buying both of the businesses, and it took quite some time from July of 2017 until February of 2018.
So really quickly too on that. So again, this is so important for people that are going into buying existing gyms. It's like going on a first date. Both people are going to put their best foot forward and sell you on why they're the best person to be with, at least smart people.
Yes.
And again, patience is key.
Do the work.
We live in a society, especially now with social media and instant gratification. And, I bought this iPhone and I can download 10 apps in 2 seconds, and you got 5G and you can download a movie in 10 seconds. People are so
now. Yes.
They're so focused on making things happen as fast as possible.
Yes.
And that is the worst possible decision. Do your research, do your homework, take your time. There's no reason why you can't. And if the deal doesn't work out because you took too long, that's probably in your benefit. It's so rare that I hear of people rushing through a deal like that and it panning out to be good. Right. I don't know if I've actually ever heard of a success story.
Right.
The success stories you hear are the ones that take forever to get done. And then there's success because of the amount of work and thought and research that went in.
Right.
Because there's so many things that people don't understand that make a gym successful. And one of the biggest reasons why gyms aren't successful is because the people that open up gyms are people that are trainers or strength coaches or anybody that's been training clients and like, oh, I can open up a gym. and it'll be successful because I've got all these clients. I know how to make people fit. Great. That's 10% of it. And I'm being nice when I say 10% of it.
I would say that's pretty generous.
Yeah. What do you know about
Business,
true
marketing.
client acquisition,
Right.
branding,
Yes.
advertising and marketing,
Yeah.
balancing books, all of the bills you're going to have, water, electricity, rent, cable, internet, phones, all the things that you need to have. Who's your salesperson? What are their goals? Your HR stuff, your legal stuff. There's 100 different balls in the air, and training clients and making them successful is one of those 100. And I learned that lesson the hard way because I was a really good strength conditioning. I am a great strength conditioning coach. I have a really impressive resume with what I've personally accomplished. And I thought that would carry my success as I opened a gym. And then I opened a gym and I learned all of a sudden that's such a small part of it. And
it's a great foundation to have.
But the other thing too is if you're going to be a gym owner, your ability to also be a trainer or strength coach, whatever it is, gets derailed and sidetracked.
Yes.
There were a couple of times where like we had to let go of coaches for whatever reason or people left. And then I had to pick up a lot of shifts. And I love training. That was my favorite thing to do. But eventually I had to move to really the business side. And so when we had what we call shifts. So there was a morning shift, which started at 5:30 and went till 11:30. Then our afternoon shift, which was from 2:30 to 8:30 p.m. And then we had a Saturday morning shift. So we had 11 shifts a week. I had to drop myself down to like 1 or 2 shifts a week just so that I could get my business and continue to move it successfully. When we lost coaches, then all of a sudden I'm taking all their shifts. So when I would see myself taking 5, 6, 7 shifts, then all of a sudden all these clients are going to my business partner or my manager and complaining that I'm on my phone all the time, which is a really hard balance. So, and you can't be doing 2 things at once. When you're training your clients, you need to train your clients. Yeah. But when you're running a business, you need to run the business. And so then there's this war for your time. There are calls I can't let go. I have to answer the phone. And so then it's just this constant like, hey, I'm training right now. Can I call you right back? And then I try and call them and then a deal falls through because it's just so that stress. And then there's no balance in that. So you have to understand, and it's good that you're a business person first. If you're going to go into business and open up a gym, stop training. That's the worst thing you can possibly do for yourself because you're not going to make money. You're going to lose clients. You're going to lose all those things. And you have to figure out what's the value of your time. And, you know, if you're training, let's say you're training 10 people, you're doing a class and each person's paying $20. So, okay, well, how much of that money is going into keeping your business sustained and paying the bills and stuff? How much are you making?
Exactly.
And then, but every hour that you spend taking care of the class,
hours away from your job,
which is supposed to be bringing in thousands of dollars versus making $150 or $200. And people lose that long-term, short-term stuff. And I was guilty of it too. And I'm thankful I had a business partner that was really helpful in taking care of a lot of that.
You want to get it all done.
100%.
I can do that. I can do that. I can jump in. But
100%.
I'll tag on to that. I think the focus is really key because when we ended up purchasing the other 2 studios, Lohi had just opened and my cannabis business was taking off. And so I was busy. And I thought I could do both. These studios, I bought them from an existing owner. I was told he had the best infrastructure. So you're buying the infrastructure, you're buying the client base. And then the manager, even by corporate, said that this is the best manager. You're so lucky. So to me, I thought, well, this is great. I can be on the outside looking in. It's running very smoothly. Have to do some more work with the Lohi because it had just been open for a few months and there really wasn't a lot of presence there. From the manager because she was more focused on DTC. And so when we bought it, that was my vision. I'll do both. And then all the while we're still trying to figure out Union Station. And I will tell you that was, again, another eye-opening experience. I think you just continually learn as you continue down your journey. We closed and that very next day, my manager, who was the best in the nation, was a no-show. So I think, in the end, it was really the best thing that happened.
That manager left.
There was a lot of accountability to me. which I think there was a lot of freedom before, is probably the best way I'll describe it.
Okay.
And I'm a business person, and there were a lot of things that I was asking, where I think before it was a free reign to do what you want, because the owner
Right.
really wasn't existent,
Right.
because he had gone back in full time. And so I think that when I said, hey, I'd love to sit down and talk about P&L, what are we doing for marketing? What's the strategy plan? I think it was just way above what they were able to handle, and got nervous and left. And so I have 2 new businesses, plus a very busy cannabis consulting group that I was traveling for every week. And it was like jumping into the deep end of a pool with 50-pound weight on my ankle.
Yep, I know how it feels.
So, I spent probably a good 6 months trying to do them both, and realized that something had to give. And, that was a great discussion with my husband and I, what was our goal? What was our vision? And it was never the cannabis. That came in the interim while we were waiting, and it really took off. And so I think, I had to just take a step back and say, what's important to me? Because I felt like I was getting right back into that corporate America type race and just gone. And that was really why I left. And I stepped away just to start a new book of my life, and not be in that rat race, and do something that was fulfilling, and it was fitness, and, to have fun with it.
Right.
So as I put all that back into perspective, we had taken our kids on a family vacation, and I said, that's going to be it. That's once I come back, I'm going to shut down my cannabis group. And so I gave it a 3-month window to finish out my consulting groups. And one of them I did keep until the end of the year, just because they were in transition. And then my focus was solely on Cycle Bar. Okay. And when that happened, magic happened.
Right, because you're spending all your time, and so it grows.
Yes.
So before...
Yes. Just like you were saying, you were stretched so thin that your focus went away from your focus.
So for COVID...
Yes.
So what were you doing? So you have 3 locations right now.
Mm-hmm.
So ballpark, roughly what financially was each studio bringing in pre-COVID for each location?
My Union Station studio was brand new.
Okay.
So it just opened up really in September. Not to bring personal into it, but we had a personal life change with my father's health. So unfortunately for Union Station, it didn't get that big start that it should have had. Okay. There's a lot that you do to prep for a studio to open. Right. There's a lot of pre-selling, the pre-grand opening, the grand opening, getting members in, because obviously it's about members and units. So, for Union Station, it struggled, I'll be honest with you. And by January, we were breaking even, which downtown, it's tough to break even. Your leases are high, payroll's high. And, we were just starting to turn profit, which was terrific. Low high was, again, just the biggest crusher, I'd say, as far as business for Cycle Bar corporate and just for us. DTC, a little bit slower pace because it's down in the tech center, but both of those businesses were very, very profitable. And they maintained that. Now, despite the growth that was happening downtown. And when I say that, we were the only gig in town in 2018 and 2019. Okay. And then just like wildflowers, just bloom everywhere, boutique fitness took off in Denver. There wasn't a street that you could go on that there wasn't 4 or 5 different types of fitness modalities. It was crazy. And then you have the big corporate names coming in. SoulCycle came in, Flywheel came in. Barry's Boot Camp is moving in. On top of that, all the different boutique spin studios and yoga studios and HIIT studios. So we did see a hit in our numbers. I would say, we were scratching our heads like, what happened? We were so busy, back-to-back sold out classes. So that was definitely a point of awareness on how do we change up and market differently, and how do we have to pivot to make our business more relevant today than it was yesterday, because competition was heavy.
And then, so COVID then hit.
So COVID hits in March.
And there's no way all those competitors survived.
No, there's been a lot of folding, which is, I don't wish bad. I mean, there was a time where I said, when we were opening Union Station, one of the leases that we were trying to negotiate on this corner spot, which is on the same street, just one street over so I can see it, it was a competitor,
Okay.
cycling studio. And I made the comment, like someone said, gosh, aren't you nervous? You could literally throw a stone at that front door. What are you going to do? I said, no, I'm going to still build. I said, I hope they're around a year from now. They're not anymore.
Yeah. So now, okay, so going into, because this is important, this is really important for people.
Yes.
Again, this is a fitness thing for people in business. So for people that
Yeah.
want to get into understanding this stuff, so you're a stone throw away from all these different,
Yes.
you got Barry's boot camp training moving, you got all these cycle studios, you got
Yeah.
the HIIT training, you got all these different boutique
Crazy,
fitness.
crazy. Yes.
So first of all, how many would you say were within a square mile of you, roughly?
Probably minimum 20 to 25, and that's
How many are left?
It's weird because of COVID. Some are not stating that they're closing. I would say half are gone. And will they survive and come back?
Probably not.
Probably not.
So we'll say 6. Let's just be nice. So we'll say 6 are going to survive out of 25. 19 are going away. And again, this goes back to why it's so important for you to understand business.
Yes.
Which you're doing a great job of.
Well, thank you.
So happy to have you. And, the other thing too, really, despite the highs and lows that you're going to have.
Yes. That we've been having.
Right.
Yes.
Now, I preach a different message too, which is how prepared are you for uncertainty? COVID has created uncertainty in every aspect possible. Again, seeing companies that have been in existence since I was born no longer exist.
Crazy.
Seeing powerhouse companies get crucified.
Yeah.
And then,
agreed.
For me, experiencing losing my gym business, retaining the training side, which is, how we had our business model. It was very profitable.
Yes.
It's not now. Well, especially because there's no team training.
There's no team training.
And that's a huge part of what my business was built on. Tens of thousands of dollars came in a month from team training. That doesn't exist.
Listen, it's a new world. And I will say, I try to look at the positive of things and the glass half full, really.
Right.
That's just how I operate. And, I'm sure everybody is, I sit in conversations and people are like, oh, I hate 2020. And it's a pain in the ass. There's no doubt about it.
For sure.
Who would have said 9 months from now that we're still dealing with this? But there's light.
Sure.
But there's light.
Sure.
There's light at the end of the tunnel. I think it's taught you, me as an individual, that what's handed to you when you're doing well, it's a drop of a hat that it changes.
Right.
And I will say, because I have been very adaptable to change, and dealing with a very challenged environment like tobacco for so long, you just learn to pivot and you learn to adapt to the situation. Sure, there's a lot of chatter in the background and like, what the hell is going on here and how are we to survive? But once you let that initial get out of your system, now it's moving forward. I have people relying on me. I have a lot of employees that are looking to me
100%.
for, are we going to be open? I just had a conversation before I came here today.
Yeah.
There's so much news that Denver's going to shut down again. What do we do? I said, we do what we do best. We pivot.
Yeah.
Until then, we stay focused. We deliver a great product. We continue to be safe. Knock on wood, we've been open since June after we shut down. And we haven't had to shut down because of COVID. We've been very responsible, very respectful of people's space. We were proactive in having face coverings on before they mandated it in the workout, even though we're 6 feet apart. We have given more time in between classes so that people have time to air out the room. We have detailed cleaning on the bikes. And so all of that has really helped. And I think for the most part, except when you see the waves of changes come through, like you said, it's happening right now, it throws out doubt and it's throwing out this uncertainty of what's going to happen. And so my messaging to my team is, we do the best that we can. We continue to stay positive. And if we shut down, we shut down.
Yeah.
Then we reopen again.
Yeah.
And we reevaluate, and you learn to do business differently. Some of the studios, I have really good friends that are just great mentors for me, and that a great leaning ear and voice that I can talk to, and we can complain together. then come up with solutions together. And it's just so much fun to be able to have that. That's the network of having Cycle Bar and just Exponential Fitness, you know, the growth of the brands and how many brands they have. And so you're not in this alone, and everybody's going through the same struggle. For someone to say, oh, we're just kicking ass and we're doing so great. It's like, okay, really? Come on.
Yeah.
How are you kicking ass and doing so great when you can have 20 people in your studio, 15 people in your studio when you only have 50? So
half full,
it's
right?
challenging.
Glass is half full.
But
those are half full for people.
Yeah, it is. And so I think for us, you know, we'll continue to do business. We'll continue to push forward. And for me, it's just stop, take a deep breath, and make the change when the time comes. I'm not the one that's going to be like Chicken Little, the sky is falling, it's probably going to close. And how many different scenarios can I put out there on what's going to happen next? That would drive me crazy.
Yeah.
But there are people that are doing that.
Okay. So for a successful businesswoman like yourself,
yes,
3 pieces of advice for people and anybody that wants to get business in general, anything, what would be the 3 top pieces of advice you would give?
I'd say know what your value is, you know what you bring to the table. So if you're getting into business for yourself, I think you did a really nice job explaining that there were things that you needed to know. You're paying all this money to get marketing and advertising. And you said, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to stop and I'm going to educate myself and I'm going to find out what I need to put in my toolbox to bring value to my business. Okay. So I think you have to know your self-worth and what you bring and be very confident with that. Another piece that I would say is never stop being curious. That's something that I live by, that if you stop being curious and you stop digging, you stop looking, you just go stagnant and you're never going to rise above to be the best. So I stay curious by learning from others through reading, through educating myself. And then, you know, I don't know if it's like 3 sound pieces of advice, but it's just really what I look at. I know what my values are. I stay true to my values. And I do things to educate myself. I don't know it all. Are you kidding me? Things have changed so much. When I started with Philip Morris, I remember having a conversation with one of my employees, like, I don't text. That's so rude. There's no personal contact. I just don't text in front of me. I text all the time now. Okay. Yep. So you can teach an old dog new tricks, and you have to be adaptable to change. You have to stay curious and you have to know what you want. You have to be true to yourself. If you come off of your compass, or if you shift your values often, then you probably need to take a step back and reevaluate that, because as stuff gets thrown at you, you pivot, but you pivot knowing where your compass is.
I do have a question for you. So, yes. And it's, you know, it's so funny because I try my best to stick with the current trends because that's where a lot of my clientele end up, right? Because I have businesses geared towards kids. And I haven't gotten on the TikTok train yet because I'm just like, it's just like I can only do so much.
I can't do that.
Only like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's just like there's so much stuff. How much do you know, but I know that they're great for, and I have a Snapchat, which I just absolutely hate. But it's like, you know, I always tell people, like, find the top 3 social media things and then just go to those. But it is challenging.
It is.
Trying to constantly keep up with all these different things. Do you find that to be a pretty big challenge too?
For me personally, it is a challenge. So one of the other things that I would tell you, like on a business side, surround yourself with people that make you better.
Oh, 100%.
I don't have the answers to everything. And I know where I lack and where I have opportunity. So I always try to build the best teams by finding the best people that complement my skill set.
Well, I always tell people, find people better than you.
You got it.
You know, you need to
whoever I hire, I want them to run my business one day.
You want people that know more than you and are better than you. So for social media, we have a social media team.
Yes.
They're people that are better than us. When I hired people to run within whatever teams, that always people that are better, video editing better.
Yes.
Anything, even coaches. I look for coaches that were better than me.
Yeah. That's not my wheelhouse. So I hired out for that.
Yeah.
But to your point, I have to understand the basics of it, you know, because if you remove yourself too far, you know, you can't be 100% on everything, but if you remove yourself too far, then you get into trouble. Right. So, I mean, I'm dangerous enough for Instagram and Facebook.
If you have a base of everything.
But I have a base.
And that's the important thing. Have a base of everything and find people that are better than you.
Yes.
And then that's a great way to grow things. All right. So how can people track your, journey? What's your Instagram?
My Instagram is at Lisa Locker 1.
Okay.
And my Facebook is just Lisa Locker. You can find me at Cycle Bar Denver. So it's at cyclebar_Denver.
Okay.
So while we have 3 studios, we have Union Station, we have Cycle Bar Lohi, Cycle Bar DTC. We just bridge it under
Cycle Bar,
simplicity.
yeah,
Cycle Bar
right,
Denver.
exactly.
So I had a little pushback on corporate for that, but they're like, she owns all of Denver. So, okay, fine. So simplified it. And we have, one Instagram handle, but separate Facebook pages. And you can find me at one of my studios. I'm as much as I'm in town, given my current circumstances, I love being at the studios. That's one thing I think you saw with your business, is that the more you're there, I can be a better leader, and I think things run so much smoother when I'm in the business.
I think that's the hardest thing for me with my basketball organization,
Yes,
chapters in so many
traveling.
places. But it is just like every day I check with all my directors, and then each of them, I just emailed a couple of them yesterday. They're like to-do lists for every single week, because my biggest thing is like, dude, you got to be better organized and you got to be automated. And this is how you automate everything. Because you check in with me I talk to you every day, and every Monday you have a certain to-do list, and every Friday you have a certain to-do list. And we talk about their Monday to-do list that's due on Friday.
Right.
And it's like, dude, this is why. And so everything has to be so organized, but it's so challenging owning businesses all over the place, which is why I empathize with your husband. I'm like, dude, just, I actually like traveling, except for when I have to land in Denver. I used to like turbulence.
Boom.
Denver is not turbulence.
Don't land here in August.
It's August. It doesn't matter what time of year it is. It is like making your life flash before your eyes every time.
Pretty much.
I've
got some good stuff to recommend for you.
Literally the last time I flew into Denver.
Yeah.
I think I came from Southern California.
You thought the plane was going to fall apart.
I left that. I was like, I'm not flying for a couple of weeks. And then because of Tara, I ended up flying, which I'm actually kind of happy about right now. But I've never, like, the landings are always rough. Always. Yeah. I've never had a peaceful transition. But it
gets better.
This one was where people were crying.
Oh,
everybody's, as soon as the first hit happened, which was unexpected, everybody's on their devices, including me.
Yeah.
I was watching a comedy that ended immediately. And the plane just dropped. And then it hit like a side thing. So it was like a roller coaster.
Boom.
Yeah. And my head with everybody else's head, you just hear this, everybody's head hit on one side and then everybody's head hit on the other. Right. And there's nobody allowed in the middle.
No.
The Lord right now. So you have 2 seats. So I'm on the window seat. And so you can just hear it. Everybody's heads hit, their heads hit. Then everybody kind of like trays up, all the seats immediately come up, trays up, everybody puts their stuff down.
Everybody's
and then
praying.
Crying starts.
Yeah, like, oh God, please,
praying
phones,
starts.
Yeah.
I had this younger woman sitting on the aisle side. And I felt bad. She's clearly unhappy too, but I'm like, dude, have a mask.
I'm equally unhappy. I can't help you.
I'm in this boat where I can't be like, I don't know where you've been.
Yeah.
You gotta stay healthy and safe. I'm not talking to anybody.
Yeah. So sorry you're upset.
Man,
I am too.
It was brutal. And
Denver.
It was 10 minutes of pure madness. So I have the app on my phone that tracks how long it takes to land.
Yes.
So I'm holding that with with one hand. I've got my arm hooked under my seat because it's dropping so much. You're just in your body is just going all over the place.
It's horrible.
So I'm holding my phone to just track how long it takes. And I'm like, oh man, this is the worst, just absolute worst flight experience. I'm glad I haven't had to fly since then.
Yeah. Denver's challenging to fly into. But it does get better. There are some smooth landings.
That hasn't happened to me yet, and I've done it over a dozen
There are some smooth landings, I promise.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm your host, Stephen Bacito, on the podcast Get It through the Social Nostra Network. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe, like, comment. If you're watching us on Instagram, please follow us. Please, please, please. We love the engagement, so continue to engage with us. My personal Instagram handle will be on the bottom. And again, I really enjoyed the feedback I've got from everybody there. Thank you again so much. And have a wonderful, wonderful day whenever you're listening or watching this.
Thank you.